Well, let's do another guest question. This one's
Do
coming
it.
from Andrea. And Andrea asks, Aviva, do you have any suggestions for women who are perimenopausal? Not sure if this would be your area of expertise or not.
Yeah, actually, I just submitted a book proposal yesterday
Wow.
on integrative natural approaches to menopause. I love
Hmm.
talking about perimenopause. So I would say the most important thing is just to know that it's a ride. It's a ride, like going through puberty or postpartum. If you don't have children, you remember puberty. If you've had children, you remember postpartum. And there are a lot of major hormonal shifts that are happening.
Hmm.
And those can really affect our moods and our physiology and just kind of all the things that estrogen and progesterone are connected to. So, as you're in perimenopause, this is a great time to really start to understand what those changes are going on in your cycle, what that means for your hormones. It's a really important time to start to build in the practices,
Hmm.
really getting good sleep, deciding how you're going to work with stress and emotional changes, especially if you're already going through those, addressing symptoms now from a root cause perspective. So if you have, if somebody has a lot of vaginal infections, a lot of migraines, mood swings, any of the things, digestive problems, starting to really nurture and heal those now is much easier than doing it later. And then, depending on what symptoms you have, plant allies are always my first go to
Hmm.
with menopausal and perimenopausal symptoms. But then, certain nutrients can be really helpful too, like magnesium or B complex, for example, depending on what's going on. It's a great time to think about gentle adaptogens, right? Because as we're going through life changes, adaptogens are part of what help keep things a little bit steady. Yeah, and then my book, Hormone Intelligence, not to be here plugging my book, but my book,
That,
Hormone Intelligence,
that's
has a whole protocol that includes perimenopause. And then my textbook, Botanical Medicines for Women's Health, has advanced protocols that herbalists can use for women in perimenopause and menopause.
great. We will leave links to those books in the podcast show notes in the YouTube description. You mentioned plant allies real quick off the top of your head. Are there any plant allies that you suggest?
Yeah, so we tend to think of Vitex for
Hmm.
menstrual dysregulation, but actually it's phenomenal for perimenopausal shifts. So perimenopause, I can say that perimenopausal mood swings, perimenopausal mood swings, perimenopausal mood swings, sleep issues,
Hmm.
hot flashes. It actually gently helps boost estrogen and progesterone. So kind of think about it as a great ally. My personal favorite herb in the world, my personal ally, which I mentioned earlier, is motherwort. And she has a particular affinity for the emotional changes that we're going through during menopause. There can be irritability, there can be more grief, there can be more anxiety. So she's a wonderful herb for that. Also for heart palpitations, gentle herb to include in a protocol, maybe with Vitex and some other herbs for hot flashes. So those are just two that come to mind as my kind of top line, but there are so many others that you can turn to.